South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of both governments.
Henyard's landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and
Tiffany Henyard, the self-styled super mayor of Dalton, finds herself embroiled in a series of scandals that have shocked both her community and critics alike. Henyard holds two major positions, mayor of Dalton and supervisor of Thornton Township. Yet her leadership is increasingly overshadowed by allegations of extravagant spending, shady dealings with law enforcement, and a mounting number of legal and ethical questions. Despite earning over $280,000 annually between her two roles, Henyard is locked in a legal dispute with her landlord, who is suing for eviction after Henyard failed to pay rent since August. This has raised serious concerns about her financial management, particularly given her responsibility for overseeing millions of dollars in public funds. Henyard's personal financial issues come at a time when the public is already disillusioned with her leadership. Critics have blasted her for spending taxpayer dollars on lavish travel, high-profile events, and celebrity performances, events that often fail to attract enough attendees to justify the costs. Many argue that Henyard's priorities are more about boosting her own image than addressing the community's real needs, such as improving infrastructure or transportation. This has sparked growing frustration and a widening divide between Henyard and the people she was elected to serve. Despite the mounting criticism, Henyard has continued to play the victim card, suggesting that much of the backlash against her is rooted in sexism and political rivalry. Some of her supporters back this narrative, but it's becoming harder to ignore the increasing evidence of fiscal mismanagement and neglect of her administrative duties. Henyard's refusal to address these concerns head-on has only deepened the public's mistrust. The legal dispute with her landlord adds yet another layer of complexity to her already tarnished image. The landlord, Jen, once an ally, filed for eviction after Henyard repeatedly failed to make rent payments. This case has cast a harsh spotlight on Henyard's inability to manage both her personal finances and her political responsibilities, raising questions about her competence as a public servant. How can she be trusted to oversee millions in taxpayer dollars if she can't even meet basic financial obligations? Public meetings in Dalton have become increasingly hostile, with residents from all walks of life voicing their frustrations with Henyard's leadership. Many feel that basic services are being neglected, while Henyard focuses on her own self-promotion and luxury lifestyle. Her spending, combined with unfulfilled promises to tackle key issues like infrastructure and public services, has only fueled the community's growing discontent. In recent weeks, Henyard made a dramatic claim that she would soon unveil evidence that would lead to the arrest and prosecution of several political opponents. This statement has left many wondering whether she is attempting to distract from her own legal and financial troubles, or if it's a genuine effort to shake up local politics. As the controversy intensifies, it remains unclear whether Henyard can survive the storm of scandals surrounding her, or if her political career will collapse under the weight of her mounting troubles. One thing is clear: Dalton's residents have lost faith in her leadership. From financial mismanagement to self-serving spending and a fractured relationship with both the public and her political rivals, Henyard's tenure is quickly becoming a textbook case of how not to lead a municipality. Whether she can repair her reputation or if her leadership will be remembered as a cautionary tale is still to be seen.
Landlord, and she says she came to this Thornton Township meeting Tuesday night hoping to get paid.
Paul's account paints a picture of deep frustration and betrayal in his dealings with Tiffany Henyard, who allegedly stopped paying rent and changed the garage codes and locks to block access to the property. What started as a straightforward business arrangement has spiraled into a tense, distrustful situation. Once viewing Henyard as a community leader, Paul now feels disrespected and let down. This incident seems to reflect a troubling pattern in Henyard's leadership, taking without giving back. Paul's experience underscores the emotional strain of feeling betrayed by someone who holds a position of public trust and highlights the crucial need for accountability in those who hold power.
I'm at wit's end, and I fear that I'm going to go into foreclosure soon.
The unpaid rent issue involving Tiffany Henyard is just one example of a broader pattern of financial mismanagement during her time as mayor of Dalton. While the town grapples with a growing budget deficit, Henyard has spent taxpayer dollars on lavish expenses, including stays at the Four Seasons in Atlanta and the Marriott Marquis in New York City. Reports reveal that Dalton's public funds have covered around $223,000 in restaurant bills over the span of just a few months. Henyard defends these expenditures, claiming they were aimed at attracting investors. But critics argue that Dalton's pressing needs, such as crumbling infrastructure, broken water mains, and safety concerns, have been neglected in favor of luxury travel and high-end dining. As Henyard's extravagant lifestyle continues, residents are growing increasingly frustrated. The disconnect between her lavish spending and the town's financial struggles has become impossible to ignore. Many question whether the touted investments have truly benefited Dalton, especially when basic services and infrastructure remain in disrepair. Critics argue that Henyard's focus on self-indulgence, while critical needs go unmet, feels like a betrayal of the trust placed in her. As Dalton's financial situation worsens, the resentment toward Henyard's actions has only intensified, casting a long shadow over her political career and raising serious doubts about her ability to lead with integrity.
Or a household that makes, over 300.
Allegations that Tiffany Henyard is abusing her power to silence opposition are quickly becoming a major concern in Dalton, casting serious doubts on her leadership. Known as the super mayor, Henyard has been accused of consolidating power in increasingly authoritarian ways, manipulating the narrative to stay in control. One of the most alarming accusations is that she has employed local police officers as her personal security detail, using them to monitor and intimidate anyone who dares to challenge her authority. This has raised fears of a police state in Dalton, with residents allegedly facing surveillance and harassment simply for speaking out. Local business owners have also become targets. Some claim they were coerced into donating to Henyard's campaign, and those who refused reportedly faced retaliation, including harassment and unwarranted inspections. Lawrence Gardner, a local business owner, described being pressured to contribute to Henyard's campaign, only to encounter difficulties when he declined. This reflects a growing culture of fear, where both business owners and residents are increasingly afraid of retaliation for criticizing the mayor, including threats of arrest. In response, many residents have turned to social media to voice their dissatisfaction, with some even calling for Henyard's arrest. One comment bluntly asks, "Where's the FBI? Henyard needs to be arrested." Others have accused her of financial misconduct and criticized her for living in a mansion far from Dalton, fueling the perception that she is more focused on enriching herself than serving the community. Amid these concerns, the FBI is reportedly investigating Henyard's use of public funds, particularly her lavish spending at a time when Dalton faces serious financial strain. In addition to her extravagant lifestyle, Henyard's awarding of large contracts to campaign donors and allies has raised suspicions of favoritism. Critics argue that these contracts are part of a calculated strategy to secure loyalty and solidify her political power. Many Dalton residents now feel that Henyard's administration operates like an exclusive club, where only those loyal to her are rewarded. This growing pattern of cronyism has further eroded public trust, with increasing calls for a formal investigation into the town's contracting practices. The mounting evidence of corruption and self-interest has left Dalton's residents deeply disillusioned. What began as frustration has turned into outright outrage, with calls for accountability growing louder every day. As the situation unfolds, residents are questioning the integrity of a leadership they once trusted, and demands for an official inquiry into Henyard's actions have come to define her troubled administration. The growing scandal surrounding Tiffany Henyard is causing serious fractures within her political base, further weakening her already precarious position. A pending lawsuit has exposed a significant rift between Henyard and one of her key allies, Trust Dan Brown, who claims his name was added to the lawsuit without his consent. Brown quickly distanced himself from the case, deepening the divide between him and Henyard. As her former supporters begin to turn away, Henyard's ability to maintain control over her political future is increasingly in question. Many residents now accuse Henyard of prioritizing her public image over Dalton's urgent issues. Her regular appearances at high-profile events, often accompanied by a large entourage, have sparked growing frustration. One notable example was her Valentine's Day ice rink party, where she showed up with her deputy police chief acting as her personal bodyguard, creating a bizarre atmosphere for families hoping for a simple outing. Critics argue that Henyard's obsession with style and spectacle has alienated residents who are grappling with Dalton's financial struggles. Henyard's dismissive and defiant responses to criticism have only worsened her standing. Rather than addressing concerns head-on, she frequently deflects blame onto others. As scandals pile up, many residents feel abandoned by a leader more focused on preserving her image than on tackling the town's real problems. The gap between Henyard and the people she was elected to serve continues to widen, leaving many wondering whether true leadership can still be found under her administration. Tiffany Henyard's re-election prospects are facing a significant challenge with the official announcement of Jason House's candidacy for mayor. House, a vocal critic of Henyard's administration, is running with his clean house slate, aiming to dismantle the corruption and cronyism he believes have taken root under Henyard's leadership. His platform promises to restore integrity, transparency, and fiscal responsibility to Dalton's government. Despite the mounting legal battles, the looming threat of eviction, and increasing federal scrutiny, Henyard remains confident in her re-election chances. Observers are perplexed by her steadfast optimism given the scandals surrounding her administration. Henyard seems to be relying on her loyal supporters and well-established network, believing they will help her weather the storm, even as evidence of mismanagement and corruption continues to surface. The upcoming election presents Dalton residents with a clear choice. House and his team offer a fresh approach rooted in accountability, while Henyard's camp clings to a narrative of success despite growing turmoil. As the town stands at a crossroads, the election will determine whether Henyard can hold on to power or if the weight of her scandals will finally bring her down. With the future of Dalton hanging in the balance, residents are left questioning whether Henyard's leadership can endure or if it's time for real change.